Hello, everybody. This is part two of the Canadian Military History part series I'm doing. But in the last part, the end of it, I mentioned about Operation Medusa and the personal component of a gentleman I've met when I was in the cadets, Warrant Officer Richard Noland. Um, he was killed in Operation Medusa in September of '06 in an ambush from the Taliban ambush. So this is the hard topic for me to talk about. When I read this and when I first read the book, it actually brought me into tears. Um, the actual account how he was killed in action. So I mean, it's very challenging when we talk about this topic. So I'm going to try to keep this little bit short. Um, how I met Warrant Officer Noland. When I was in Air Cadets, 74 Austin Air Cadet Squadron. Yeesh, seems like ages ago. Almost 7 years ago. Uh, I was sergeant, and we're doing our abseiling rappelling weekend or day, and we were basically doing. He was teaching us a little bit of camouflage concealment. So I mean, this is a tribute to really to him, Warrant Officer Noland, as a person, as humanitarian, taking time out of his day or his weekend to be with us cadets. He didn't have to do that, but he did, which we appreciated very much. Um, but yeah, I was standing right beside him. Little exercises. Swing the spot, a few of his guys in his command. I guess I probably have been deployed to Afghanistan at the same time. Don't know. Didn't really get their names. But I remember Warrant Officer Nolan. But the thing he had a few guys in a little bush, maybe about 200 yards away or so. I'd say about 200 yards, maybe a little less. They asked me if he spot his guys, a couple of his guys in the around. Well, me having uncle taught me a little bit about camouflage and concealment. I was able to spot telltales where they were without binoculars or without any assistance. I said, okay, they're that clump of trees over there. Randomly, it's like he looked at me, gave me a look, and it was actually quite interesting about it. He says, "Yeah, you're right. That's where they are." He was impressed. I was able to pick them up that fast. Um, so yeah, that's my little thing on Warrant Officer Noland, actually. So this is actually, as I said, this is a great book if you want to know a bit more about Canadian military history and how successful we were. A bit more War 1812 in there as well. Um, yeah, well, I'm going to start with a little bit of Vimy Ridge, World War One. We're going to go right to Vimy Ridge. Everybody knows it's April 9th to 12th, 1917. Here we go. Here's a thing from Tim Cook. A little blurb I have from Tim Cook. Another very good author with the First World War, the Great War. Basically states many historians and writers consider the Canadian victory at Vimy a defining moment for Canada, when a country emerged from under the shadow of the British and felt capable of greatness. Canadian troops also earned a reputation as formidable, effective troops because of their stunning success, but it was the victory at a terrible cost, with more than 10,000 killed and wounded. The Canadian Corps was ordered to seize Vimy Ridge in April 1917. Situated in northern France, the heavy fortified 7-kilometer ridge held the commanding view over Allied lines. The Canadians would be assaulting over an open graveyard since previous French attacks had failed, with over 100,000 casualties. This is a little bit of information I found was very interesting. There were countless sacrifices as Canadians single-handedly charged the machine gun nest, forced the surrender of the German protective dugouts. Hill 145, the highest and most important feature of the ridge, where the Vimy Monument now stands, was captured in a frontal bayonet charge against machine gun positions. 3 more days of costly battle delivered final victory. The Canadian operation was an important success, even if the larger British and French offensive, which it had been a part, had failed. But it was a victory at a heavy cost. 3,598 Canadians were killed, another 7,000 wounded. The capture of Vimy was more than an important battlefield victory. For the first time, all four Canadian divisions attacked together. Men from all regions of Canada were present at the battle. Brigadier General A. E. Ross declared afterward, "In those few minutes, I witnessed the birth of a nation." Vimy became the symbol for the sacrifice of the young Dominion. In 1922, the French government ceded to Canada in perpetuity Vimy Ridge and the ground surrounding it. The gleaming white marble and haunting sculptures of the Vimy Memorial, unveiled in 1936, stand as a terrible and poignant reminder of the more than 60,000 Canadians who died serving their country during the First World War. I mean, that being said, Vimy is a very big battle for a lot of Canadians. Every April it gets talked about. A lot of people don't understand Vimy. What happened to Vimy? I don't really know the full story of Vimy. I want to. I mean, it's a very General Ross there. What he said in those few minutes, I witnessed the birth of the nation. That sums it up. That makes the battle interesting, historically, and for me. When we accomplished what the French tried and failed to do, that lifted Canada up, our experience up. Our morale went through the roof pretty much, from what I would understand, what I could imagine. That's not a fact. It's just my personal idea or belief. But yeah, it's like history is very subjective to each person. How you read it between the lines, really, of the history books. A lot of history books are written by the victors, not the losers of the war. Simple as that. Yeah, Korea. I mean, I'm going to talk about Korea probably next part. But what a lot of people don't fail to realize, World War One was pretty amazing, really, for Canada. It was really It was the first major war that Canada's fought as Canadians, as Canadian soldiers, as Canadian Corps, not part of the British, with British officers. We had British officers, yes, but it was really where Canadians fought with other Canadians, now mixed in with British soldiers, the British, or other Commonwealth soldiers, and we continually proved ourselves in the battlefield. Even though the British general we had, General Douglas Haig, wasn't the sharpest person, but he was probably a very decent, honorable man. So I mean, I'm not going to badmouth Mr. General Haig there, but he could have won the war. He could have ended the war sooner of Vimy if he was smart. So I mean, it's always interesting to find out a lot of different information about different battles. I mean, there's a lot. Like I'm going to mention in subsequent parts. I'm not sure how many parts this is going to be yet. There's so much to talk about. I'm trying to structure this a little better. I'm trying to structure it in a way that breaks it down so you're not bored, stiff. I encourage comments and all that, so don't worry about it. It's the second part. But yeah, Vimy Ridge to me is the battle where it defined Canada. That's a defining moment in Canadian history. One of our defining moments. So is Dieppe, but that's the next part. So I mean, I'm gonna call this one a little short today. For this part, it's going to be a little shorter, but so we can get on to the next part, so we can break it up a little bit. Okay, well, thank you for watching the part 2 of the Canadian military history. So hope you guys enjoy it, or hope you guys are enjoying it. So, I mean, I'll see you in the next part, where I'll be talking a bit more about the rest of World War I. Have a good night.